fellow tankers. This is Lucky Mountain. I'm standing here today in front of a M38 Swedish tank, and I'm at the place called the Arsenal. It's a armored vehicle museum outside the Swedish city of Strängnäs. The interest in tanks have skyrocketed lately due to many factors. One of all would be games like World of Tanks, War Thunder, and Armored Warfare. I'm going to talk today about some of the Swedish tanks in the history of the Swedish armed forces, and maybe in the future you will see some of these tanks in a game near you. So I hope you'll enjoy this, guys and girls, and I'll see you soon. Okay, all stories have to start somewhere, and this is, if you would believe the speculation about the World of Tanks Swedish tank tree, this would be your Tier 1 M21 Swedish tank. This one started its life as a German leichter Kampfwagen, light tank, I guess, and was actually imported in Sweden in secrecy. It came into Sweden under tractor parts. And this was, of course, it was ordered in 1921. And it was used in different parts of the Swedish Armed Forces as a kind of test and tryout tank. You tested different armaments, tested how radio would work, and altogether 10 of these were used by the Swedish military. They were actually in service until the breakout of World War II. As you can see, pretty similar to other countries' early tanks, so to speak. Well, it is a German one, so I mean it's pretty much the Leichtraktor is, I guess, what you would call it. But still, interesting piece of history, and everything has to start somewhere. 4-cylinder engine, 55 horsepower. Okay guys, so we're trying to get a shot of inside the M21 here. My friend David here is, David, smiling on camera. Try to get away. He's trying to light it up. It looks very artificial, but just kind of get a shot how it looks on the inside here. Pretty roomy, I must say. Okay, this tank, although it probably not will show up in any Swedish tank tree, it is quite cool because this is one of a kind. This is the only one in the world here at Arsenal, in the Arsenal. It's an NC27. In Sweden it was called the M38. It was based on the FT70. There's a lot of numbers to keep track here. This one was ordered by World, imported in Sweden in 1926. It's a Renault, and it was taken here to be tested. This could have been a replacement for the M21 tank, the leichten Kampfwagen. As I said, this was the NC27, and that was based pretty much off the FT17. FT17 is a tank that was being used during World War I. Also used by Sweden, but it was kind of obsolete at the time it came to Sweden. Both the FT17 was obsolete, of course, and NC27 was obsolete. There was concerns about the tracks and the transmission, and they were proven to be quite correct. It didn't live up to the standards. This one ended up ending its life, so to speak, before it ended up here as being a driver's ed tank at one of the regiments in Sweden. The remaining FT17 ended up as a target practice on a shooting range, which was very beneficial to learn how armor reacts, and those learnings went into future Swedish tanks. So we still have them to thank for some parts. Armament was a 37mm Peugeot cannon, and also the engine was a petrol engine producing I think 60 horsepower. So the top speed of this was 12 kilometers an hour. It actually weighs 8.5 tons, and if you think about how small it is and you compare it to the M38, which also weigh 8.5 tons, you can see that the development is pretty substantial here. But cool, the only one remaining in the world, and it's right here. So if you're a big French tank buff, you need to come here and see this one. Okay guys, so behind me we have the Swedish tank, the M38. This tank started its life called the L60. It was produced by AB Landsverk. AB Landsverk was a company a Swedish company, industrial company, producing railway carts and railway bridges. Got some financial problems in the early 1900s and sold half its stock to a German industrial company. So AB Landsverk started in the 1920s, I think, to produce armored vehicles, and this is one of their productions. The L60, which later developed into the M38, had 4 versions: the A, B, C, and D. Main difference were the armament. The early versions only had machine guns. Later on, we got the 37mm Bofors cannon together with a machine gun. As I mentioned, the last version also got the new turret as well. There are a lot of really cool features in this tank that they were quite early. First of all, you will notice that it's not welded. I mean, it's not riveted. It's actually welded, which is a huge benefit. If you get hit by a shell, it doesn't crack open as easy. You can also see that they implemented sloped armor as well, which they were quite early doing. You see a lot of these designs featured in later tanks, such as the German, the Soviet, and the American tanks. Okay, so some of the features of the M38. It is a light tank. It weighs 8.5 tons, which is 18,700 pounds. It had a Volvo 6-cylinder straight engine, or straight 6-cylinder engine that produced a whopping 142 horsepower. But it actually managed to get up to 45 kilometers per hour road speed. And the armor wasn't great, but we're talking early days here, so it's pretty standard, 6 to 15 millimeters. But as I mentioned earlier, it is actually sloped armor. So on paper, pretty thin, but as you know, sloped armor is a lot more effective. So this was quite a good tank for its time. It had some good features that was a little bit ahead of its time. Unfortunately, at the beginning of World War II, Sweden can only muster 16 of these capable to fight other tanks with the 37mm tanks. They had other versions with just machine guns that weren't as effective.